Don, so and he says the same thing.
We're still trying to figure out who wanted a party.
Thank you guys, especially everyone who came from far away, and for my kids for coming and being there as my support, and my husband too. For all my support.
The verdict's out on that.
All my support people throughout the years that I've been in Petaluma, especially my wonderful staff in Petaluma and my colleagues in Petaluma. So thank you, and for all the organizers, I really appreciate it. And I wanted to say thank you to Don, who's been my kid's pediatrician. So he has, and Claire, who didn't want to leave when she turned 18 and stayed with Don till she was 20. How old are you, Claire? And it just attests to what a special person you are, Don. So, and I appreciate having Don with me my whole career, which has been pretty darn incredible. We trained at Children's LA together. He was a few years ahead of me, and then we were at Kaiser in Southern California together, and then up here together. So he is my work husband. Okay.
You're not off the hook. You just can't get off that. Well, anyway, welcome to TPIP 2020. I didn't want to. We did want to party. Didn't want to speak, but I figured you only get to retire once, I guess. Although it makes me wonder if I would do it more often if I had people say nice things about me. Anyway, you're truly not done, because I don't even know the answer to some of these questions, so I'm going to ask you. We're going to do this sort of interview style. I know the answer to my own questions. So, so part of what I would say, since I am retiring, is how I ended up even here to begin with. But I'm going to ask you first, how does it that you went into medicine? I don't even know the answer.
Do you want to ask my mom that question?
Yes,
Kyle and Jessica heard this answer to this question last time, yesterday, but I don't know. I think I always wanted to do something in the medical field, and I was going to go into nursing, and one of my good friends in college was going to go to med school, and I'm like, well, if Mike can do it, I can do it. So I applied to medical school and went that direction. So how about you?
My mom, who's not here to defend herself, but she told me from the time I was a little kid I was going to be a doctor, and she told all her friends the same thing.
Is your mom Jewish?
Yeah. So I just went through school, and it's easy to just keep trying to do well in school to please your parent, and then all of a sudden, when I went to college, I was a liberal arts major in college, and that's when I really just loved learning, and I took the minimum number of classes to apply for med school. But I really only challenged that notion of my mother's at the very end when I realized, shit, I got to do something here. And I asked her recently where that even came from, and she said, I never told you were going to be a doctor. I'm like 64 years old, and you're telling me that? But she says she didn't plant that seed. I had no idea why I was going to be a doctor. I really never even challenged the notion until I applied for med school. And I didn't even wear a coat and tie the first time I interviewed. I really didn't know what was going on. And, but did get into school. Yeah, right. Got into school and threw myself into it wholeheartedly. So I'll next ask you why you are doing pediatrics. Why did you end up doing pediatrics?
I think for me in medical school it was between pediatrics and OB, and I think I think probably the majority of us, it's just such a wonderful, warm group to work with. And I was showing Jessica and Kyle and Claire some of the cards I got from patients, and just the little stick figure drawings and the hearts and everything. They're just a really special group of people.
So I was going to go into internal medicine. I was at Baylor and did the GI service, and the adult GI service, and really liked it a lot.
Yuck.
I told you not to talk about it. And he actually got honors in medicine and got to meet Michael DeBakey because of it and all this other stuff, and I was all set to go. And then, because you have to, I did my pediatrics rotation. I did it with a virologist over at Bentop Hospital, which is the big public hospital in Houston. And I met this woman who was from CHOP, and she was doing an elective at Baylor. And I started talking to her, and she would talk to me about why she had gone into pediatrics and her goals and aspirations. I realized this is a really nice person, and she taught me about the Harriet Lane Handbook, which was probably in its first or second iteration back in 1979-ish, and weight-based dosing and all these really interesting things. And she had a real rigor to her academics and her application to the craft that I didn't even think pediatrics really had, because again, I really liked internal medicine. And that was the changing point for me. I cannot remember this woman's name and never communicated with her after, but she changed my life, as far as what I thought. And after that, I realized, gosh, these people are warm and caring to say things that everyone said and nurture each other rather than try and take each other down in rounds and this and that. And that was when I made the commitment to go into pediatrics. And I then, dovetailing with that was the fact that I wanted to move to the West Coast, because I traveled the West Coast a lot when I was a kid. So I did a couple of electives, one in Seattle with David Smith, of Smith's Malformations, and one at Children's LA, and only applied to schools on the West Coast and ended up at Children's LA, which we both know, even though we didn't overlap. And I guess the next question I was going to ask you is, why did you end up going to Children's LA? Weren't you in Chicago med too?
Yeah, I went to medical school in Chicago, and I wanted to come back out because my family's from this area, from the Bay Area, so that's how I ended up. LA was the closest spot that I got into on the West Coast.
So we did not overlap. I was there from 80 to 85. You were there from when?
86 to 89?
Yeah. Yeah, so we didn't overlap, but then I, like maybe some other people, I didn't know what I wanted to do after my very last year at Children's, and didn't really feel like I wanted to go into private practice, but didn't really have a sense of the fellowship I was really interested in, so I thought I'd take a gap year, so to speak, and be with Kaiser. So I took that 1 year commitment back in 1985, and here you go, the golden handcuffs, as they say, where you get in and you start to see the benefits, you start to meet people, and we both worked at Bellflower. Bellflower is a huge facility, it had like 40 docs maybe, and it was not that different from residency, which had like maybe 60. And you learn the good and the bad, who to hang out with, who not to, built up relationships, the next thing you know. But anyway, going back a step, I started in 85, and then you came in 89, you think?
86.
80? Oh, so it has been longer. So you guys can't.
82. I don't know.
I thought it was later. Anyway, you
Bellflower, 89.
89, okay. So that means 30 years that we've known each other. But she left in 92 and came up here. And then I think in 93, let me know about a job that was going to open up in the greater San Rafael facility. And because my wife Janie's from up here, I had already told her if at any point we could move, I'd try and make the move. And I still remember coming up for the interview, and it was the June picnic. So we came to the June picnic, and Carol was there, Claire probably, sitting out there, and I thought, God, these people eat like this every day, sit out here in the backyard, have this beautiful catered lunch, and I'm in, So anyway, it would all have just been an interview, but Janet apparently lobbied very hard for me against a couple other, at least one other candidate, who the chief at the time's daughter's or son was dating, first or son. something like this. I don't know. Anyway, she lobbied hard for me, and I got the job at Petaluma, which I'm sorry, you can blame me. So that was in 93-ish. I came up in 94. And so we've now been there for that 25 years at Petaluma. And we have, as people alluded to, the death pact. I think it was sort of a joke in the beginning, but then it became more real as time went on, and next thing you know, here it is, right? 25 years later. And I would have to say that the sense of commitment we've had to each other to support each other and try and get through the hard days and build each other up, and if need be, close the door and talk about it or whatever. It didn't seem, since it's been my experience, it doesn't seem rare to me. Maybe it's rare. But again, I think it again typifies, as we've heard from other people, the relationships that we build up with our peers and why pediatrics is really different. It's a twofold specialty in a sense of the awesome responsibility and dedication and honor you have to take care of kids and their parents, but at the same time, it's also the interaction you have with your peers, how special those relationships become, because at times it's just maybe sharing of knowledge and a kind of a pride in work product and trying to do the best job you can, but other times it's a war. Some days are just so hard and so challenging, and you need people who are special around you in order to try and survive all of that. So I think that we have that special bond, which I hope you won't abandon me now that we're both left work, and that we'll keep that up. But I think even tomorrow we're going for a hike, right? So
I told Steve my first job is to Marie Kondo the house. Steve's already got deadbolts on his office.
Ashley's got a date with you Wednesday, I just want to let you know. He's walking the dog with you on Tuesday. Anybody else, there's lots of time in Janet's schedule.
Steve, why do you have a Band-Aid on the top of your head, by the way? Was it a blunt object? Don't protect yourself. I wanted to, this is much shorter than it was. I started off and timed it, it was an hour and a half. I do. That's true. Anyway, I just wanted to say a few more things here. So I mentioned, again, I've been in this long enough that going back these 40-something years that, the early part of my time, I did meet Michael DeBakey. I was pimped on rounds by Ralph Feigen. Did that elected with David Smith. Met Dr. Kawasaki. And actually got to talk about the failures of the acellular pertussis vaccine with Jim Sherry. So that was early in the time. And then these last years, I've sat, as Dr. Damon's waxed poetically about the New York Yankees, been drunk under the table by Drs. Hoffman and Uranga. I won't mention that night again.
What about Christmas Eve?
We're still feeling it.
Yeah, I think I'm still recovering too. And heard Dr. Katz say, the agostopia of the ignorant gentacular is in the nudisterium, which roughly translates to, is that available in Spanish? The last thing I'd like to do is just say something about my colleagues outside of our facility. I tried to communicate how I felt about my Petaluma colleagues at other times, but I've not said anything about the other people that we've worked with over these years. All of them are special. Some of them are not here, so I'll just say things for them, Mike Harris, God bless him, all the energy he threw into all those metrics that he picked up over the years with grace and aplomb. Now too many to count. And as well as the fact that he and Paul, just amazing during trivia night. Grace, for the thankless job, she's still there doing the schedule for all those years, Grace, and not charging me more than $20 a year to keep me off the holiday schedule, never raising the rate. Thank you, Grace. And for always being available to come work up at Petaluma and never complaining. And Rebecca for her ability to just prioritize and compartmentalize her life and her organizational skills and all the work that she did for the department and to try and help Otto. And Rich, there you are, thanks for taking on that other half of the ADD group. I really appreciate it because I did not want to do 2 times a month by myself. And you are a boundless, curious person who has so many loves. I mean, from fly fishing to food and wine and everything else, and the enthusiasm is just infectious. And Mike Matsumoto, thank you for always being available to listen, usually in crisis, and you unfortunately know what I mean. And thank you for keeping me one step ahead of Bumqua all these years, at least to this point. I don't know. And I'm sorry Estel's not here, but I always want to call out Estel whenever I have a chance. Even recently, I mean just like 5-6 weeks ago, I had a kid who was involved in some particularly unusual, inappropriate social behaviors. And he said he had given the mother his personal home phone and email, and she'd not reached out to him yet. And I just feel like his level of dedication to his peers and to his patients should always be recognized. And Placida and people who are as young as Placida should be fortunate. He'll still be here when you retire too. And then there's this powerful group of young women that we have, young and I should say middle-aged women we have in our department. And,
Watch it.
and I'm gonna make, if I forget one, I apologize. So Tiffany, Fatima, Jana, Katrina, Andrea, I'm gonna mention you in that group. Placida. I threw KJ in, who's not here. I was gonna make a joke about KJ because I know a special place to put him. But for those of you who don't work with KJ is the friendliest guy. Every time, I mean, when I came down to San Rafael and would work on weekends or whatever, it overlapped with him, that genuine Midwestern charm and just always wanting to connect, be friendly, showing up to trivia night, even if you had to feed his kids first, and talking about Cincinnati chili. I think you'd like this guy, Steve. Anyway, he's a special person, I hope to keep seeing him outside of work. Anyway, this group of women are going to carry this department in future decades, and I think you guys should just collectively make your voice heard. Then finally, talking about the department, I want to give a special thanks to Paul and Cindy, who I consider to be the heart and conscience of our department. Paul, who is a self-recognized force of nature, has always argued passionately for the right way to do things and pushed consistently this standard for collective excellence. I say the words I wrote on paper because I don't want to screw it up, Paul. And that's why I think our department separates itself from other departments. And we owe you that, Paul. And you've taken this job for a very long time, and kudos to you. And Cindy, who told me she wasn't going to be here, but I got to tell her this in person. In the time of increasing complexity of the job of chief, showed that she was not only up to the task, but set a standard with an ability to manage data, implement initiatives, and set an agenda in that more and more demanding environment that we worked in. And when Cindy left that job, she did not just fade into the background, as we all know, but she shifted into yet another gear and then took on the outpatient eating disorder group, the communications group, the vaccine compliance group. So she just continues to, basically based on her own commitment to excellence in care, take on new tasks. And I think that we can never thank her enough for all that work. And then finally, where's Dear Leader? Is he over there? So, other people command data and implement initiatives, Otto. There might even be a person or two who's done 2 TPIP sessions like you have. Maybe not too many, but maybe a few. But who else would be everyone's best friend. You don't forget birthdays, you call in times of crisis, you take a bullet for us if you needed to. I have no doubt in my mind at all. And I have often feared that the cost to you is too much, for your own health. So my wish to you is you take care of yourself, stop breaking bones, nurture yourself, and you're going to cross over to our side fairly soon, I think. And I hope that you find great rest and peace as you move over to our end. So that's all I was going to say. Again, I think that the big deal about this is that we have had the honor collectively to take care of children and their families, and the blessing and just gift that is. But we've also had these relationships with our peers. And this is what I think everyone has said today, is that how much it matters that we made this choice to be in this profession, and we all take care of each other. So I want to thank you for all coming today, taking time out of your Sunday. Thank God it's today, it isn't next Sunday, right? And a special thanks to Ari for taking the time, and for all the background work, and Otto for just being Otto forever. So thank you very much. Anything else you want to say?